'Twas a cold, bleak, and biting Christmas Eve when Ebenezer Scrooge decided for the first time all year to light a fire within the great hearth inside his office. And so he drew his large wooden chair up close to the mantelpiece and plucked a solitary piece of coal from the scuttle that he placed deep within the fireplace. Buried there, he attempted to strike a light. All it did was successfully consume the dust that had collected there over recent months. To no avail did it catch on the coal, and so Scrooge did whatever he did whenever he was defeated by elements, people, or business. He concentrated on that coal, he focused on the fire, he knit his brow, he furrowed his forehead, and the coal took light. Was this the work of the mind of Ebenezer Scrooge, or was it mere coincidence? Perhaps the carbon had been so fortuitous as to be wreathed in a light dusting of coal dust, but Scrooge would have none of that. As far as Scrooge was concerned, this was an act of will, just as all acts in his life had been. Everything had been borne by his mind alone, whether it was the success of his business, the success of himself as an individual, the lighting of a mere fire, or the sending of a peasant to the workhouse or hangman's noose. Everything was done by Ebenezer's mind. For although this night was a cold night, and he was a cold man, truly cold, even he could feel the winter chill outside, and so he wrapped his cloth about him, and he huddled close to that paltry flame. His heart wreathed in winter, just as the streets outside were so to those that walked them. His mind and soul frozen beyond compassion or love, he stared at that fire. He looked for some sign, some indication, some portent of what would come on the following day, for the following day was one of great import to him and to the rest of the world. So intent was his staring on the fire that he scarcely noticed the door behind him open. So intent was he that the voice that rang out through the office made him jolt from his reverie with some abruptness. Sir, I'm terribly sorry to interrupt you, sir. I truly am. I apologise from the depth of my heart, sir." The voice, at once familiar, compelled Scrooge to roll his eyes and raise an eyebrow. "Cratchit, why are you disturbing me so? Could you not see that I was concentrating on the flame?" "I could, sir, I could, and that is why I apologise. It's just, tomorrow is such a big day for you, for I, for my family, for the world." It is, Cratchit. This is why I am trying to get a sign. Could you not see? I could see, sir. It's just with my boy, with my tiny Tim, and well, what's going to happen, sir? You know he's not a well boy, sir. No, indeed. And, well, I just wanted to get home to him, sir, and I wondered if I could avoid taking part in the ritual tomorrow, sir. You see, Tiny Tim is already a part in that ritual. I wanted to spend one last night with him. I wanted to spend one last night with my family. I've delivered to you everything that you needed, everything you said that the masters needed. I've done all that you've asked of me, and I just wanted to spend one last night of happiness with my family before you know. Scrooge, a cold man, as already noted, a man beyond compassion or love, bit his lip. How badly he wished to curse this pathetic mortal Cratchit. How badly he wished to cast this man from a window and never have to be exposed to him again. But he served a purpose. He was the father of Tiny Tim. He was the father of the sacrifice for Mithras Day. Still, there was no need for him to take part in tomorrow's ceremony. There was no need at all, for Cratchit was a weak man, a pathetic man, a coward. With his wits as shattered as they had been, for the many months and years that he had since known Scrooge. Why, his involvement may cause the ritual to fail. Scrooge nodded.
Very well, Cratchit, you spend this night with your family, but you deliver them! You deliver them to me, to this office! This office in such perfect geometric location in London, so that when the ritual takes hold, great Mithras will rise!
Cratchit backed away. So panicked was he, so scared was he. But just as scared as he was by Scrooge's insane laughter, more insane was he by the acts that Scrooge might perpetrate if he did not serve him. Cratchit ran back to his family, to his polio-stricken son, to his ill wife and other children, to spend one last night with them, one last night of happiness before the world ends. This left Scrooge on his own in his great office, filled with all of its records that had been focusing on children birthed in London for many, many years. It was not his work originally. Originally it was the work of one Jacob Marley, the former high priest of the Order of the Silver Twilight. But Marley had dealt with beings beyond his ken. Marley had tried to seize too much power for himself from those above him, and Scrooge knew more about station, more about rank, than Marley ever did. Scrooge knew to bide his time, knew that one day or one night he would become as per regard, and this was the deal he had made with great and noble Mithras, that on his birthing day, when the sacrifice was delivered, then Scrooge would become a true power. He stared at that fire again. He did not notice himself fall asleep, but he did notice as he awoke. The room was somehow more grey than it was earlier. Perhaps the sun had gone down. He stood up, creaking from his chair, joints popping. Looked around.
Cratchit! Cratchit!
Mind failing him, of course it sent Cratchit home. He went up to a window, as he could hear a noise outside. Some kind of rattling of metal, some kind of shaking of chain. He was a floor up. What could be at this level and shaking metal? He flung open the shutters, unafraid of the cold winter chill that would blast him in the chest and face as he did so, and so he was surprised when there was no such cold wind. Wherever he was, it was some dreamland. He had not truly awoken, and he was faced by the spectre of one Jacob Marley. He remembered his old friend well, his erstwhile predecessor to the role of high priest.
Marley! Marley, what are you doing back?
I am back, Scrooge, to give you a warning.
A warning? What about?
A warning that I knew what you did to me. I knew that you set up the rituals to fail so that you could take my place, take the honor, take the glory in Mithras' name.
That is a lie. You have no evidence.
You forget, Scrooge, that I was a lawyer for longer than you, that I know the ins and outs of every agreement, and that as I died I saw all of the trips you put in place, all of the wires you strung up to ensnare me and my soul to this place.
No, it is not true. We were always loyal to one another. We helped each other through the bad times. We discovered this ritual together, Marley.
There is no use lying to me, or perhaps you are merely lying to yourself. Perhaps you cannot accept that you could not make it to where you are through your own gumption. that you could only make your way to where you are through treading on the shoulders and heads of your betters, that you had hamstrung and brought low.
Oh, then it is true, it is. I did bring you low, but I do not regret it. I do not regret it one bit.
Scrooge wiped sweat away from his forehead. How odd to be sweating in a dream, in a winter dream.
I do not regret it. No, yes, I brought you low. I brought you low. I set it up so that you would be consumed by the power that you hoped to consume yourself. I laid these bits of cheese before you like the rat you were, and you hungrily consumed them, not even pausing to think that it may have been a trap. It was your fault, Marley, your doing, your greed, your gluttony. I have always been smarter than you. I have always been far more intelligent than you.
Maybe so, but it is here that I am the master and you are the slave. It is here that I will warn you that you will receive 3 visitors beyond me this night, Scrooge, and it may make you reappraise your role in days to come. On Mithras Day, your role may be reappraised.
Never! I am loyal to his lord Mithras, and this is a test. Mithras has sent you here to test my loyalty, but will not be unshaken. It will not be shaken at all. I am loyal to the bull. I am.
We shall see, Scrooge. We shall see. You have the opportunity to back out. You have always had the opportunity to back out. You are not beholden to Mithras. You are not beholden to anyone but yourself. Even you yourself have said this.
I have. But Mithras offers me much. We have arranged a deal. And I never go back on a deal. Not on a deal that can benefit me so.
Very well, Scrooge. You will have your visitors over Christmas Eve night. And by Mithras Day, you will have made a decision. You will have made a decision that will affect the world. And thus Marley blew away in a winter wind, disappeared into the cold night, disappeared as quickly as he arose, unbidden. Scrooge, his eyes jumped open with some alacrity. He looked around. He was still sat in his chair. The weak fire had gone out. He tried stoking it with a poker. Tried to rouse some flame from it. A nightmares. They happened occasionally when dabbling with the occult, but never before had they been so vivid. Scrooge stood once again, his joints popping, and he poured himself a shaky glass of brandy.
Laudanum. I need laudanum.
He raided his cabinet and could not find any, and so he moved over to the next one. Opium! I need opium. The opium was gone as well. That Cratchit. His nerves had been so shot over recent nights that he must have consumed all of the heady drugs. Scrooge was still covered in sweat. He felt that he might need to change out of his pyjama. And so he walked to his private chambers. As he opened the door, he was greeted by a sight that he had never thought he would see. Not in the flesh. Only in textbooks had he seen this creature before. Only in mural and scroll had he seen this being illustrated. 8, possibly 9 foot high. More limbs on his upper body than any creature should ever have. A head that split open like a flower head, except with fangs wreathing the top and a wild, cavorting tongue. This was the Gug, so described to him by Professor Julius Smith all those years ago. He never believed it truly existed. And what was it doing here in his private chambers? There was no time to reconcile his thoughts with his suppositions. He stumbled back, he fell to the ground.
Please, please do not hurt me. I have powerful friends.
Replied the Gug, either angrily or pleasantly. It was difficult to tell.
Please, I can offer you whatever sacrifice it is you want, but I am old. There is barely any meat on my bones. You are the Gog of Mithras past? Are you one of the visitors that Marley sent to haunt me?
He pulled himself up.
I am not afraid of you. I am not afraid of servants of Marley. I was a servant of Marley, and I am a bigger man now. I am a better man now. I will not be intimidated by you.
The Gog stretched out one and then two of its right limbs, and Scrooge took it by the paw, and he was taken through a vortex, through time and space, and he was dragged back to Mithras past many decades ago, when he was a younger man, perhaps a less cold man. He was in this office once ran by another cultist entirely. He could see over there Marley filling up his glass with too much brandy once again. He could see Bell. That's a name he didn't think he would remember in a very long time. He hadn't given Bell a thought in years. He could see Fezziwig, Mr. Fezziwig, the founder of this chapter of the Order of the Silver Twilight. There, telling all of the revellers great tales, great stories, great daring-do of the Order past.
Why are you showing me this? This is some kind of party, some kind of ball that I attended, yes? 3 decades ago, was it? 4, maybe? Mayhap it was. Fezziwig, how long ago since you were consumed by that star-spawn? How long ago indeed? Oh, I would shake that man by the hand, I would. I would. For it was Fezziwig that introduced me to the outer darkness, introduced me to Mithras for the first time. It was Fezziwig that introduced me to the first semblance of the ritual. He showed me the tapestry from the other side, where the colours hang loose, where you can see the way it is all made up. Can I go? Can I speak with him? Why the devil not? We are right here. They have not seen us yet. It is a custom for me to introduce myself, especially if I am a guest.
And so the Gug gestured, the Gug of Christmas past, the Gug of Mithras past, towards a younger Ebenezer, walking in with a gift in hand for young Bell, the young sacrifice of all these Mithras past. Bell, laughing. Ebenezer, you shouldn't have. Oh, well, it really was nothing, my dear.
Can you hear the voice that I once had all those years ago?
Really, what gift could you have brought me? This is the first time you've introduced me to your friends, and they're all so very friendly. Marley over there, Mr. Fezziwig, and the others. Why are they all putting on those robes? Oh, you'll find out, dear. Please, open up the box and see what you've got inside. Oh, very well, although it is still Christmas Eve. We call it Mithras Eve here, dear.
We did as well. I felt it was quite pretentious at the time, but, you know, Christmas is merely just an inherited custom from the rituals of Mithras and Horus before it... Oh, yes, I suppose you know all of this.
And so Bell opened the parcel, given to her by the younger Ebenezer Scrooge, and inside was a dagger, curved and pointed sharply. Its pommel and handle inlaid with rubies. Is this some antique letter opener, Ebenezer?
It's an opener. It is an opener. Wait till she sees what it opens. Oh yes.
She picked up the knife, and she found herself uncontrollably, forcing it towards herself. What's going on, Ebenezer? You are our goose, Belle. You are the goose that will lay to summon the greater darkness this Mithras night. No, I will not do it. I will not have it. Fezziwig, should she be resisting like this? Oh, it happens all the time, it happens all the time. Let her be, let her be. The dagger will see to it that it reaches her heart, and then we will eat of it, and then we will celebrate Christmas the way it is supposed to be celebrated. I don't like the way she's struggling. I don't like the way it's slowly carving into her chest. The younger Ebenezer was panicked. He had never seen such violence as this. This was his first year in the Order of the Silver Twilight.
I remember being such a coward. The act that I took next, it took me years to make up for it.
The younger Ebenezer, overcome with a weird spate of compassion, suddenly found himself wresting the crisp dagger from the hands of the young Belle. Let me take it, dear. I'm trying. Let me take it from your hands. And he did. He wrested the dagger from her hands, and such a state was Belle, she ran clean out of the lodge, out of what is now this office. Marley, Fezziwig, the other cultist, staring at Ebenezer. What have you done, Ebenezer? I didn't want to see her in pain. That's part of what all the bloody Silver Twilight is about, you damn fool. Now we're going to have to find another sacrifice. That is too late. It's too late as well. Look. Dong, dong, dong. +9. It's midnight now, Ebenezer. We've missed our chance. We've missed our sacrifice because of you and your compassion. Your warm heart has to be frozen somewhat more yet, my lad. Oh, you silly boy. Marley takes another drink.
Yes, I was a young fool. So foolish and innocent was I. I had a lonely childhood, you see, and Belle was the first woman to treat me as a friend, and I had slept with her. We had made love the night before this one, and I had felt that it would have no effect on my mind, on my conscience. But it did.
Old Ebenezer. He dabbed a handkerchief to his mouth to wipe away the spittle and a solitary tear.
Why am I crying?
Ebenezer responded to the ghost of Christmas, or the gug of Christmas past.
Because I hate to see myself so weak. I hate to see myself so pathetic. So pathetic. All of this could have been done when I was a younger man, and my immortality could have been assured while I was young and virile and healthy and whole. Instead, I let this overcome me, and I had to wait another 4 decades before I could do it again. Never again. Never again, Gug. Never again.
Ebenezer and the Gug of Mithras past went back through time and space. The Gug had disappeared. Ebenezer was alone in his office.
And you see, Marley, if you are here anywhere.
He found himself shouting out to the walls, to the darkness, to the ceiling. He opened the window, and the cold wind this time hit him clear in the face, and it woke him up.
Has this all been a dream? Has this all been some vile dream? Some means of testing my faith in Mithras? Is that your intent, Marley? Is that your intent, Mithras? You try to test my loyalty, for it is ironclad. I will not betray you. I will not.
He sat in his rocking chair. He rocked back and forth. He lit his pipe.
Oh, this tobacco is not cheap, but it is worth it. How many hours till Christmas Day? Oh, 1 more hour. 1 more hour. 1 more hour till Mithras Day, and we will make the sacrifice. We will make it. My loyalty is ironclad.
Ebenezer, self-assured once again, went back to a listless slumber. And so it came as some surprise when Scrooge once again awoke. He did not have to travel far this time, as he looked down, and upon his lap was a creature quadruped, roughly the size of a small dog, but in place of its head was a writhing mass of worms and tentacles. Burrowing into his abdomen, he cast the moon beast clear. The moon beast was merely trying to befriend him, of course.
Get away from me! I speak the language of your kind. I will not have you eating my insides, not on the day before such an important day.
The moon beast retorted, shrugging, with all four shoulders.
No! If you are another messenger sent to me by Marley or Mithras, you can clear clean off. There is no need for you to be here. No need at all. I am comfortable in my chair. There is nothing that you can show me.
And somehow the moon beast, with great inhalation, managed to suck Scrooge from his chair and into his maw, back, forward, through time and space by one day. For the moon beast of Mithras present took him to the site, the time of the great sacrifice. Around him was Cratchit, other members of the Order of the Silver Twilight, and laying upon his table, carved with runes as it had been over many, many years, what was quite often a functioning table for business doings, was tonight, today, an altar to great Mithras himself. Tiny Tim, that pallid lad, laying helpless, restrained by his own father and another cultist, as Ebenezer, not the Ebenezer watching, but an Ebenezer holding that crysknife from before, stepped around the table and held it aloft, above Tiny Tim.
Yes, this is what is to happen tomorrow. This is what is to happen, you see, and I do not regret it. I do not regret it at all, and neither does Cratchit. He may be weak of will, but once he sees the might, the awe of Mithras, he will realize that this is the correct path, that this lonely world needs to be restarted, refreshed anew, in his image, in my image.
And so Ebenezer, observing, he cast his finger towards Cratchit, so that the moon beast could see to what he referred, and yet Cratchit, he was not happy here. And Tiny Tim, he was afraid, deathly afraid.
Oh, this child should not be afraid. He serves a great purpose, for the Order of the Silver Twilight intend to recreate the world so that illnesses such as his will no longer be here. It is just a small sacrifice for the greater good. For my good. I wish to live again. I wish to have a youth. I wish to have more wealth, more power. I am too old now, and he is my chance. And Cratchit understands. Don't you, Cratchit?
Cratchit could not hear him. For Ebenezer observing was not Ebenezer there. Ebenezer there was chanting, Yah, Yah,
Cthulhu, Verdagen,
and the crysknife buried itself clean through the rib cage, severing the aorta, the heart of Tiny Tim, and the blood did flow, gushing forth like a fountain, and Cratchit shrieked, No! No, sir! No! You killed my boy! It is too late! It is too late! We have summoned great Mithras! No, but you've killed my boy! You've killed my boy! I'll kill you! And Cratchit, he jumped towards Ebenezer Scrooge, the leader of the ritual. He bowled him to the ground, and with a horrendous snap, with strength that Cratchit did not even realize he had, Scrooge found his back broken, still conscious. On the ground was he. Let me go, Cratchit.
You are denying us all immortality. I just want my son alive, sir. I just want him alive, and you've taken his life from me.
Wrestles Cratchit was pulled away, dragged off of Scrooge by the other cultists. One of the other cultists, behind a muffled hood, said, "It is all right, Ebenezer. Even with a broken back, you will serve Mithras well." And they picked him up, shoving the corpse of Tiny Tim off of the altar, and they placed him upon the altar in turn. It is good for a loyal servant of Mithras to be sacrificed to show his loyalty. Ah! Scrooge was sent back in time, back to his own time, back to his own Christmas Eve.
No! This is a phantasm. This is a lie. This will not be. This will not come to pass. I have already sent Cratchit away, and to ensure it does not happen again, it does not happen, as this portent has shown. If he turns up at my door, I will send him away. I'll send him home, and we will sacrifice Tim without his presence there, and all will be well. All will be well. I will not die tomorrow. I will be reborn and live a life of immortality. Do you not see?
The moon beast, incomprehensible, indecipherable, even to one that could speak the tongue of the moon beasts. Scrooge just stared blankly at the tentacled monstrosity.
Will you be leaving now? Would you not like to sit by the fire? What am I saying? Why would I offer you my fire? The heat is for me. You get out of this house now. You get out. There's the door.
And turning back to the moon beast, it had already disappeared. Scrooge took to pacing, poker in hand, thwacking it repeatedly in his palm.
This will not come to pass. This will not come to pass. Marley's warnings are nothing but warnings can be circumvented. This may be a sign by Mithras, but the sign does not have to go out in the way that I imagine it. No, this is not how it will come to pass. Not how it will come to pass at all.
Without intending it, he found himself first leaning against the wall, then slumping to the ground, poker held like a weapon in front of him, as he fell to sleep for the penultimate time this Christmas Eve. When he awoke this time, he expected to find some other monstrosity in his chamber. He would not have been surprised to have been met by a serpent folk, by a shoggoth roiling through the window. No. What was instead there was sat on the other side of the table a man in black, black clothes, black hand. Black as the coal that had recently burnt out in his fireplace. "And what have you made of the messages so far, Ebenezer, if I may call you Ebenezer?"
Who are you? Are you the last of the visitors?
"I am the last visitor to many in our field. I go by many names."
I have heard of you.
Ebenezer responded.
I have been loyal. I have always served. I always shall. My loyalty is beyond question.
"So say you. But there are many who have been stronger, who have crumpled at the last moment. Allow me to show you the future that you will bring to this world, if you carry out your part of the bargain." And so the man in black said, "Everyone attack," and grabbed Scrooge by the hand and pulled him roughly forward through time. The man in black, ever smiling. "Here you get a chance to participate, Ebenezer. Here you get a chance to experience the world that you will be creating. For you, for I, for us." Ebenezer found himself. Was this London? Is this London? So many locales, St. Paul's, but crumbling, destitute. The streets empty of life.
This is not so bad,
Scrooge mused. The man in black merely smiled and nodded. Ebenezer made his way down the streets.
Hello? Who's there? Anyone?
The man in black laughed behind him. Keep going, he said.
Hello? Is this the new world? Is this the world that I will be creating? Ah, there's a man. There's a man over there. You there. You there. What day is this?
The man in black continued to laugh as the figure turned. A pox-ridden being. Pox all sprouting, their own eyes lined with sentient blood vessels crawling and creeping over their faces, over their bodies, their flesh a mass of writhing movement.
Who are you? What are you?
Replied the figure, as more figures akin to it crawled up from the Thames, these deep creatures, these spawn of some being unknown to man or beast, began to climb up the river bank, the embankment, and crawl towards, then stand and run towards Ebenezer.
No, no, I have created this world. You must thank me. I am your god.
They ran towards him, these deep ones, these deepest servants of Cthulhu, and they charged him down, and he found himself running down the streets.
No, no, there must be some kind of article of faith, some kind of monument to my greatness. If I created this world, and these are my servants now.
And that is where he came upon it. What once was Trafalgar Square, once was Nelson's Column, was instead a monument to the great Ebenezer Scrooge, destroyer of worlds, creator of hell.
No, this is not what Mithras promised. It has some figures.
He had lost the deep ones by this point.
It's covered in leaves. Help me clear them.
The man in black just stood and watched. You can clear them yourself. Ebenezer moved the foliage aside and gave his date of death and the reason, the cause of it. As the world imploded and spat out the servants of the great old ones, of the outer gods. Truly, he had been commemorated, but he had not been brought back, at least not in a way that he had anticipated. According to the numbers and the text on this great pillar, Ebenezer Scrooge had died and had come back and had achieved a form of immortality, forever to observe London and the rest of the world from his perch, never to move, but always to see the wonder that he had created.
No! I did not ask to be a statue. I did not ask to stand on a pillar for all time. I did not seek this. I did not want this. No, take me back. Take me back, man in black. I anathema, please. This is not what I sought. I sought to wander out, to indulge, to have all that I sought, everything that I wanted, everything that Mithras promised me.
Gods speak in half-truths, Ebenezer. If you wish for immortality, you may have it, and you will have it, but there is great sacrifice to be made on both ends of the scales. Scrooge found himself back in his office. No sign of Nyarlathotep, no sign of a moonbeast, no sign of a Gug. The man in black, of Christmas yet to come, of Mithras yet to come, had left the room somehow 3 hours behind, just as Cratchit had left the door. Scrooge got up from his chair, and he bolted for the door, seeing Cratchit doing up his coat.
You! Bob! Cratchit!
Yes, sir? Scrooge stumbled over the words. He wasn't sure whether he could make them out.
I want you there for the ceremony. Tomorrow. Bring your whole family.
Sir? Please, don't make them go through that.
No. It must be done. It must be done this way.
Scrooge was adamant. He was resolute. And Cratchit, so fearful was he, fled. In order to spend perhaps one last night with his family, Scrooge slept and dreamed dreams of what was to come if he followed the course of action that he had intended. Part of him still intended. Immortality of any kind was a gift that most beings would kill for. It was certainly something that he had contemplated killing for. Still did. He awoke to hear the banging on the door. The sun had already come up. The time of the ritual was at hand. He found himself he could not don his cloaks, his robes of the Order of the Silver Twilight, and merely fastened his dressing gown, opening the door to find the other cultists there. Cratchit had not yet arrived with his family. They were due to arrive slightly later.
Why have you not let us in?
Why have you not let us in, Ebenezer? It is time.
No. No, it is not time.
What?
We misread the signs. It was yesterday that we were supposed to perform the ritual. We've missed it. We've missed the opportunity. It is calamitous. It is dreadful. Mithras visited me in the night. His servants visited me in the night. It's too late. It is too late. Go. Shoo. Go back to your families. We will reconvene. Yes, you return here on the morrow and we will reconvene then. But for now, treat life as it should be treated.
The cultists, confused, obeyed the edicts of their high priest, and they retreated.
What to do?
He put on his finest clothes. If he was to greet the Cratchit family, if things were to go different, he would have to dress differently. He opened the door just before they arrived. They all bustled in, every one of them. Bob Cratchit, pale, looking sick. The rest of the family looking similar, but for different reasons. Tiny Tim hobbling in on his crutch. If it was possible for Ebenezer's heart to break at this point, it did. Such a fragile creature, such a weakling, such an innocent boy, innocent as Ebenezer had once been, that he was contemplating. He looked over his table, draining the life of him upon that table, letting his blood run through the cracks onto the tiled floor.
You must be Tim.
Yes, sir, I am, sir. Thank you for having us round. God blimey, that's a big hearth you've got there, sir.
Yes, I suppose it is. It very rarely gets lit these days.
Oh, that must make the room awful chilly, sir.
Yes, it does. Please, Bob, sit your family around the table.
Cratchit proceeded to do so. They stared at each other. Some of them held hands. Even those who did not know what was about to happen, what was due to happen, were still scared of Scrooge due to his reputation.
Sir, what's going to happen? We're going to celebrate Mithras Day, Bob.
Scrooge strode purposefully over to the shutters at his window, and he cast them open. Again being hit by that bracing, this time, winter air. Oh, it made him feel good to be alive. He could smell the hot chestnuts being roasted down the road. He could smell the turkey and the geese. He could smell the animals that were being cooked for family festivities. He could hear the carols down the road. He hear a Mithras carol being sung.
You there, you boy!
He shouted down to a child walking past.
Yes, sir.
What day is this?
It's Christmas Day, sir.
You sure it's not Mithras Day?
No, it's Christmas Day, sir. Don't know what Mithras Day is.
He turned back to Cratchit.
We'll celebrate Christmas this day. Mithras Day can come some other time. Boy, before you go.
He turned back to the window.
We have nothing to eat.
Well, that's not my problem, is it, sir?
Scrooge, usually accustomed to having a high temper, put his hands together and calmed himself, steeled himself against his rage.
No, indeed, it's not you that is at fault here. Boy, I want you to find me the finest, the largest, the most robust and edible rat with a human's face that we can eat on this Christmas Day.
What?
Failing that, the largest turkey that you can find. Here, have a bag of shillings.
Oh, very good, sir.
The child caught it out of the air.
I'll be back post-haste.
And so he disappeared. And Scrooge turned to the fire and put this time upon it 12 lumps of coal. And when he lit it this time, a great roar went up, through none of his own willpower, but through the festive spirit that had filled his hearth, filled his heart, filled his home, and filled the souls of his guests. As a giant rat arrived with a human's face, and he began to carve, Ebenezer Scrooge realized that this truly was the finest of Christmas days. Thank you very much for watching.